A good leader takes a little more than his share of the blame and takes a little less than his share of the credit. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, hope you're doing well. Atharv this side, and welcome back to my another PI experience of the season at the Vinod Gupta School of Management, that is VGSoM, IIT Kharagpur 2025. Frankly speaking, this was my worst PI of the season, and this was the first PI of the season where I got grilled a lot by the panelists. So stay tuned till the end to listen to my actual PI experience in detail. As usual, this video will be in three parts. In the first part, I'll walk you through the online application process followed at the Vinod Gupta School of Management, that is VGSoM, IIT Kharagpur 2025. Then in the second part, I'll brief you about my profile, and finally in the third part, I'll actually share my PI experience with you all. So without wasting much time, let's begin. So first, speaking about the application process followed at the Vinod Gupta School of Management, VGSoM IIT Kharagpur 2025. So in my case, I had applied online on 30th December 2024. So while filling up the online application form itself, you have to give your PI slot preferences, and I had chosen 1st March 2025 to 3rd March 2025 as my PI slot. So accordingly, on 27th February 2025, I received the shortlist email on which my PI slot was mentioned, which was 1st March 2025 between 2:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. and my interview time was 3:50 p.m. and the PI was scheduled online via Microsoft Teams. Then coming to my profile, I hail from Pune, Maharashtra. My profile is 989 NCOBC category, engineer and a fresher with a gap of 3 years. My CAT 2024 overall percentile is 86.67. Now coming to my actual PI experience. So as I mentioned earlier that this was my worst PI of the season, and why I said so, because the panelists were not at all interested in your achievements and extracurriculars. My PI completely revolved around my academics, GK and current affairs. So yes, I must say that this was my first interview of the season where I got grilled by the panelists. My interview was scheduled for 3:50 p.m. and I had to log into Microsoft Teams as a guest and not with my Microsoft account 20 minutes prior to the scheduled PI time. That is, I had to log in at 3:30 p.m. and I had to change my display name to full name as per my application form underscore my application number. So accordingly, I logged in at 3:30 p.m. and my PI started exactly at 3:50 p.m. Actually, when the panelist admitted me into the meeting room, I faced a technical glitch. Neither I was able to hear them nor they were able to hear me. So once I disconnected my earbuds and connected them again, and the issue was resolved and I was all set to go. My panel consisted of 2 male members who were in their 60s, and trust me, they were very senior and very knowledgeable. So my interview was started by the first panelist. He said, "Atharva, please introduce yourself in 2 minutes." So while I was introducing myself, he interrupted me in between and asked me about my graduation college, graduation stream, whether my graduation college was a private institution or a government institution, and in which city is my graduation college located. So I answered all of his follow-up questions and continued with my introduction. Then, since I mentioned the word strategic decision making in my introduction, he again interrupted me and asked me, "Atharva, what is the difference between strategic decision making and operational decision making?" Then I answered him, but actually he was not convinced with my answer. He said, "Atharva, actually I was not going to ask you this question, but since you mentioned the term strategic decision making in your introduction, I wanted to check whether really you are aware of these hi-fi terms or you are using them just for the sake of creating an impression on the panelists." Then I further went on to explain him, and he was like, "Nevertheless, tell me the difference between a leader and a manager." So I answered this question by giving him an analogy which I had read a few years back, but again he was not convinced by my answer, and both the panelists started making fun out of my answer. Then he said, "Atharva, you are a mechanical engineer, right? So tell me, what is Bernoulli's theorem and its applications?" So actually I answered this question as well, but I was unable to recall the exact equation of Bernoulli's theorem. Then he further asked, Atharva, have you studied statistics in your graduation? So I said yes. Then he asked, what are the different types of distributions in statistics? So actually at the moment I was unable to recall the types. So I said, sorry sir, I am unable to recall the types at the moment, but I'll definitely go back and read about it. So he said, have you heard about normal distribution? So I said yes. Then he further asked, what is the shape of the graph of normal distribution? So I answered this as well. Then he asked me where the FIFA World Cup 2026 is to be held. So actually I was unaware of this and I was unable to answer this question. I don't know why he asked me this question because neither I am a sports enthusiast nor I had mentioned about football in my introduction. Then the panelist 2 took over. He said that, Atharva, from your online application form, I am able to see that you graduated in 2022 and haven't worked since then. So what were you doing since then? So I told him about my UPSC CSE preparation. Then immediately panelist 1 was like, since you were preparing for UPSC CSE, then you should know this basic GK about FIFA World Cup. Then the second panelist further asked about my optional subject in UPSC CSE. So I told him about anthropology. Then he cross-questioned me that, Atharva, you being a mechanical engineer, why you choose anthropology as your optional and not mechanical engineering. So I explained him my reason behind choosing anthropology over mechanical engineering as an optional in UPSC CSE. Then he asked me what is anthropology. So I gave him the answer and I personally was satisfied by my answer, but actually he was not convinced by my answer and both the panelists started creating fun out of my answer. Then he asked me what is WTO and its functions. So I answered it as well. Then he asked me what are the total number of members in WTO. So actually at the moment I was unable to recall the exact number. So I said, sorry sir, at the moment I am unable to recall the exact number of members in WTO, but I'll definitely go back and read about it. Then further he asked me, is India a member of WTO? So I said yes. Then further he asked me about Russia-Ukraine war and I answered it as well. Since I had mentioned about UNO in my answer, so he further went on to ask me about UNO. He asked me what is UNO, so I answered it as well. Then he further asked me where is the headquarters of UNO located. So here I made a mistake. I got confused between the headquarters of WTO and UNO. So in place of UNO's headquarters, I told him WTO's headquarters, and both the panelists again started making fun out of my answer. Then he further asked me how many permanent members are there in UNO. So I told him 5. Then he said, name all the 5. So actually I named 4 of them correctly and I made a mistake while naming the 5th one, and again both of them started making fun out of my answer. Then panelist 1 took over and he said, Atharva, we are done with your interview. You can sign off now. So I said, thank you sir, it was nice talking to you, and I signed off. Literally speaking, I felt very embarrassed and low on my confidence after giving this interview. Nevertheless, if I had to rate my interview, then I would rate it 2 out of 5. Now I am left with my PI at IIM Rohtak. So as soon as I am done with it, I'll upload my experience on my channel. Till then, do like and share my video and subscribe to my YouTube channel, because you all very well know that प्यार बांटने से बढ़ता है. Thank you.